Are you talking about the consumer?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, you're asking me this question. I'm thinking from a dealer's perspective. You're talking about from the consumer. I'm not going to buy your car unless you buy my used car. Okay, I'm with you.
Well, somebody's got to buy it.
Right. The
So,
consumer needs a way to offload their cars for sure.
correct.
Does it have to be the dealer?
The dealer is the one that's okay. Again, if a dealer is smart, I want to make this as easy as possible. And yes, I have a strong used car business. I want your used car. But if the OEM is not making a car that maintains its value, if an OEM is not making a car that is going to remain in demand after it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, then it's going to hurt the trade-in values, which means it's going to put more pressure on those customers to buy a new car. I mean, if I was an OEM, I would want to see my used cars dominate the market. And I would want to do that because it's going to help me sell more new cars and I'm going to make a fortune on parts. But I don't see where the OEMs honestly really give a rat's behind about a lot of the dealers.
Okay.
And
Expand on that. And folks, we just went live here on YouTube, on our website. Chip Dorman, Ryan Girardi here at our used car marketing strategy session here. We're basically taking a look at 2018 and putting some perspective on that and looking ahead towards 2019. You're going to see us bouncing on a few different subjects right now. We're talking, you can hear it, we're getting into the fact that OEMs are pretty much 100% focused on moving new product and don't really help out on the used side. So go ahead, Chip, because I kind of interrupted you there, but go ahead with that thought.
well, as we were talking, people that own cars currently, in order to get into a new car, they need to sell their used car.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheer fact of the matter remains that the used car market is twice as large as the new car market.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm a new car dealer, I want to make money on both ends.
You're going to make more on used. We know you're going to make more on used.
It doesn't have to be that way. Okay. But OEMs need to show some discipline. OEMs need to understand that the dealers, okay, without the dealers, they're toast. I mean, they're toast. And we talked about, the OEMs not really caring about the dealers. Well, without mentioning brands, I mean, I've talked to a number of dealers now, and they're telling me that their strategy is to try not to lose more than $1,300 on the front end and to try and make $1,800 on the back end for a net $500 gross and then hit a volume bonus. I mean,
that's their incentive.
Okay. That is so razor thin. Why would I want to put myself through that meat grinder if I can go make $2, $3, $4 a copy and sell 3 times as many used cars? Why would I want to do it? I mean, there's more money for me going the other way.
Is it fair to say when as a franchise dealer, you're kind of stuck? Aren't you stuck as a franchise dealer? You can't get out of it. You can sell it, but you can't get out of it. And you can't just abandon your new car sales. You have to, you can't just say, I'm going to just sell used cars. You can't do that.
That is correct. So what happens, and okay, I don't think I'm giving away any secret sauce here because, a number of dealers have already come to the realization. What you do is, instead of trying to sell, 50-50 or, three, new to, one used, you flip it the other way. You start selling 2 used or 3 used to every new.
Mm-hmm.
You hit your, quote unquote target, but you're just doing the bare minimum. Okay. You're just doing the bare minimum to keep the OEM off your butt. And that frees you up to, go focus and do something where you can really make money. And right now, for a lot of dealers, that's used cars.
Let's look at this from the consumer standpoint just for a second. We got about more than twice as many, pretty much about twice as many used cars are purchased each year compared to new cars. Obviously, that's probably for economic reasons. It's less expensive. It's a greater value to buy a used car. I don't know if consumers are thinking about it when they're going into it. They're just thinking, I need a car, and they have a budget, and they try to find something within that budget. And it turns out that every other time, or 2 out of 3 times, it makes sense to go with a used car. For 2018, as we saw, I think about a 2% lift compared to 2017. Most forecasts probably predicted a slight decline in sales. Now we're heading into 2019, and analysts are pretty much saying this is it. The new car business is a bust. 2019 is going to go down. What do you say about that speculation?
I don't buy it. Okay. I just flat out don't buy it. A car is a capital asset. Okay. It's a mechanical asset. It's going to wear out. And if it's time for you to get a new car, it's time for you to get a new car. Okay. So now the question is, what are you going to go buy? You're going to go buy new? You're going to go buy used? Well, in a downturn, okay, people don't stop buying cars. They don't stop. And dealers need to understand the trader mentality. If overall new and used sales slow down, it means people are holding onto their cars longer, right? If they're holding onto their cars longer, dealers should be picking up that service business. Okay.
I was thinking that too. Cars do last longer. Are people staying in them longer? Probably. I mean, yeah, I think the average lifespan ownership is now 3 to 5 years versus 2 to 3. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you look at the market as a whole, okay, I look at the sale of new cars as being driven by overall economic conditions. And the most important economic indicator for me is going to be employment. Okay, do people have jobs? Okay, if they still have jobs and they're bringing in paychecks, they're going to need a car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interest rates. Interest rates going from 3.5 to 4.7. I mean, if anybody came to me and said, what interest rates are up, that's why we're down. Okay, not going to buy that. You tell me interest rates go from 3.5 to 10%. Okay, maybe we talk, but we haven't seen that big of a bump. And again, if the difference is $16 per thousand, okay, I may go buy a different car, but I'm still going to have to buy a car. There's still a market for cars. So dealers need to adopt a trader's mentality. So long as there's volatility, so long as people are buying and selling, dealers just need to be where the action is. And for the OEMs, Okay. You need to make and sell cars that people want to buy and that have enough profitability in them for your dealers to sell them, as opposed to another alternative like used cars.
Chip, I got to take just a quick recess here. I did not update the feed on our website, and so anyone that we directed to the website are not able to see. Might be a little bit too late, so give me 1 second here. But I'd like to switch gears with you slightly. With used cars being in, I think the supply is, the supply remains high, but the demand remains higher. Maybe not really. What is that? How is that affecting our wholesale prices for the first quarter of 2019? Are wholesale prices at risk of, say, softening?
So long as people, okay, are buying and selling cars, as a whole, no. Okay. As a whole, no, they're not. You're always going to have you're always going to have variations in between models and brands, okay, for a number of reasons. But on the whole, no. And to a certain extent, the wholesale price of a car doesn't really matter, okay? If I'm going to buy a $3,000 car, okay, I'm going to buy a $3,000 car. Why? Because I've got to buy a car. That's what I can afford. Now, you as a dealer, all you need to do is find a $1,000 car. Okay, I guarantee you, those cars are out there. I just had a friend buy a $1,400 car. $1,400. It's got 180,000 miles on it. It's kind of dinged up. It's showing its wear and its tear. At $1,400, it's a throwaway car. It's a throwaway car.
You say wholesale prices don't matter. They don't matter to the consumer. They do affect the dealer's profits, if you will, which brings up our next talking point that I had in mind, which is the buzzword of 2018 of margin compression.
Okay.
We dedicated a whole episode, I think back in October or November, specifically towards margin compression. What do you have to say? What do you think about the term margin compression and tie that into the wholesale prices?
Okay. So can I stipulate, okay, I'm a big fan of Dale Pollock. A big fan of Viato. Okay.
So Dale's who you think of when you hear the word margin compression?
No.
Because he's been talking about it for 3 years. I think he kind of coined the term, but I could be wrong.
Okay, he did. Now, I think the single biggest problem in terms of margin compression are old used car managers that are stuck in their ways, that are still physically going to an auction. Why?
Repeat that. I want you to emphasize what you said.
I think the biggest cause of margin compressions on new cars are old used car managers that are stuck in their ways, that are still trying to physically go to auctions to buy their cars.
If it's not a profitable model, why do dealers follow suit?
If it were profitable, you wouldn't have people whining about margin compression, would you?
All right. Well, there's two types of margin compression. There's the new car margin compression, which I would say because of the internet, new car prices basically became static, right? You go into Target and you're going to pay that same price for that deodorant or whatever that you are at your supermarket. Maybe it might be some variances here. I'd say the internet squeezed out profits from new cars. Now, used cars, I think dealers have a lot more that they can control that influence their margins. So things like where they're getting their cars, to your point, auctions, how they're acquiring them, what tools they're using, what data they're using to move those cars, right? And one of our talking points up here for today is Dale Pollock coming out saying it's not all about turn anymore, which we've also talked about in a recent episode. So I intercepted there to distinguish margin compression because there's new car compression and used car.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at the margin compression on the new car side. Prior to me coming into automotive, the dealership that I worked at, it was not uncommon for them back in the, big, huge glory days, pre-2008, to sell, 600-700 plus cars a month. Well, the truth of the matter is they lost their butt on over half of them. They would do anything to hit a volume number. And yes, they sold 700 cars, but the total gross at the end of the month was nowhere near what we did with the internet and 400 to 450 cars a month. I mean, they'd be lucky to do 200,000-300,000 in gross a month. At 700, we were doing, 1.2 to 1.4 mil in gross a month, $4,000 a copy.
Yeah, I think dealers were forced to move more metal to make up for the decrease in margins.
No, that was before the internet. That was before the internet really took off. That was back when dealers had quote unquote control. No, the factory shoved a bunch of product down their throats. Guys just got into a sales mode. They didn't have any control. No, the truth of the matter is one of the biggest problems, again, and I see this with a lot of dealers, they buy whatever the factory rep or the factory computer tells them to buy. No, okay? Buy the inventory that your customers want to buy that you can make money on. Why are you just taking what's coming down the pipe? Okay?
We have the tools, we have the data to know what the market wants. Fair? We have the data. The data exists. We have the tools to figure that out. It's a loaded question.
At the OEM level?
No, at the dealer level. At the dealer level.
Are we smart enough to use them?
Well, that's a good question. So when a dealer goes to auction, okay?
Okay.
When he goes to auction.
I want to remove that phrase. Okay.
You want to remove it? Auction?
No, go to auction. All right.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, if I owned a dealership and a used car manager said, I'm going to the auction, okay, they would be fired.
I was going to say, he's gone, right?
Okay. Dude's toast.
But what do the auctions say? Do you know what the auction companies are saying? What's their response to that? How do they handle that objection?
All right. The auction companies, and this is the beauty, all right? The whole entire idea of using something like Stockwave is I can look at 16 auctions, 16 lanes at once. Okay? I'm not stuck with just what's in front of me. I'm also not stuck in an environment where, I've got to buy something and it's all emotional. No, I can sit online and I can make a rational buying decision with discipline.
Based on data that you have, because you can sell it.
It's just a commodity. Okay?
How many dealers in your experience over the years, and maybe as of late, are disciplined that before they acquire a car from whatever source, the trade, auction, private seller, before they acquire that car, already have a reliable forecast on when they're going to move it and at what price. Is that rare?
Are we talking about the smart dealers?
Do you think that the majority of dealers are there?
No.
Have we crossed that chasm yet, or no?
Not even close.
Not even close. Okay, so let's take that. Here we are. You're saying, look, if my used car guy said, I'm going to go to the auction, you're going to say, don't bother. You just lost your job. Right?
Correct.
Okay. So there's a sense of urgency there. There's a detriment there. You're like, don't even waste my time and money. Those days are over. You don't need to do that. So there's an urgency and a detriment there. But if the majority of dealers don't recognize that now, for this last 10 minutes here, let's look at 2019 and focus on used cars. What is going to happen? Are we going to see a drastic slide? You don't think prices are going to soften at the wholesale level? So what do you see happening in 2019? And for the sake of it, let's look the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
Specifically with used cars.
What's
important?
Does a stock broker care about what a stock sells for? Is that how they make their money?
No, they care about what they're split. They care about what they're getting.
If you buy 100,000 shares at $1,000 a share, or you buy 100,000 shares at $10 a share, guess what? Okay, in today's market, I'm making the same commission.
Mm-hmm.
It's on a per share basis. Okay, in the case of Schwab and a lot of these others, it's on a per trade basis, right? It's a volume business. Well, that's the same attitude that car dealers need to take. I kind of don't care what the wholesale price is so long as I make my spread. Okay, I don't care. I really don't. I need volume. I need X amount of transaction with X amount of profit in them. And if you're telling me the vast majority of dealers are still stuck in the dinosaur age, okay, the smart kids and the cool kids are going to get this figured out. That's why there's so much buzz about, profit time and the autos change. Now, I'd also caution a lot of dealers that just because Dale has backed off from the concept of, okay, it's strictly volume, you need to look at this and that. For me, when I looked at and I was using Viato, I never did that. Okay, I already had those allowances. I was already doing what Dale is talking about now, because for me, it was simple, common financial sense. All right. Dale had a model. Dale had a number of great ideas. Dale came out with a tool and it worked 95% of the time. Were there some outliers? Well, yeah, come on, kids. I mean, you're supposed to be a car professional. You're supposed to be able to think on your feet and go, you know what? This is an exception. Okay, this is an exception. Now, 1/3 of my inventory about to have a birthday, there's something wrong with that. And if you can't tell the difference between that and some outliers, like I said, you're probably one of those old dinosaur used car managers that's still going to an auction.
Chip, would you agree it is more strategic to not look at the end of, and this, you might have already disagreed with this now that I'm thinking about it. I was going to say, would you agree or disagree that it's more strategic to look at profit as a whole and not per unit? Meaning, if you got to take a loss on this, take it. Just move the metal and get it out and move it and get it out there.
Okay, so when it comes time to take in a trade, right? If I have to pay a little bit too much to sell a new car, if I have to give the person a little too much on the trade, right? I'm going to wholesale that car. I am not going to try and hope that I can take a car that I've overpaid for, take it into a recon process, put more of my money and capital into it, and then hope that an overpriced car is going to magically sell and hit my profit margin. Okay, no. I'm not going to beat up on my sales manager because he had to go a little deep to turn a unit. Perfectly fine, I understand. I want my sales managers to be out there, to be on the front line, to be making decisions in the heat of battle. Okay, at the end of the month, I'm going to take a look at what they're doing, but you can't micromanage. Okay, so on this one, that's what we had to do to get it done, wholesale it out. I don't take a loss. I move a new car. I make some money. I make a customer, make them happy. Okay, I don't have an issue with that. But at the end of the day, I still need to stock X amount of units and turn X amount of units with X amount of profit.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, you can't sell everything for a loss, obviously.
Okay, so yes, you need to look at the whole. You need to look at the whole. Now, are guys going to make mistakes? Yes. Okay, don't compound your mistake. Cut your losses. Okay, you tried something. It didn't work. BFD, I'm not going to beat you up at the end of the month. If your goal is to sell 200 used cars and deliver 400,000 in gross, I am not going to go in on a line by line, car by car, transaction by transaction, process and beat you up because you had a couple of losers. No, I gave you a goal of 200 units, 400K. Sometimes making sausage gets a little messy. You hit those goals, I'm happy. Because guess what? Next month, I want to sell 225 and I want to hit 450.
Okay, so we're coming down here to the bottom of the hour. I'm going to give you 90 seconds, Chip. 90 seconds.
Oh my God, the pressure's on.
We've talked about this. Yeah, we've talked about this on the side. But what is your advice, whether it's a single piece or three top things for dealers to focus on in 2019 as it pertains to their used car marketing strategy?
Used car marketing strategy. 1, your advertising should focus on inventory level ads, dynamically generated, search, not display, not video, search. And that means Google ads. Your Facebook ads should also be dynamic inventory ads. You want people that are in the market looking at your cars, your pricing, your payment. And the old rules have not changed. The whole secret to being successful at used cars is buying them right and reconning them fast.
Time to line. There you go. So I thought you were going to give 3 points. You gave 1, dynamic inventory search, not display, on Facebook and Google. And then,
right.
And then, say that again.
Buy it right.
Buy it right, and move it fast.
Well, not just move it
Get
fast.
it on the line fast. I'm sorry.
Recon.
Yeah, get it on the line fast.
Don't get stupid on recon. You can't have that thing sit there for 7 to 10 days and try and have your fixed ops manager make too much money on, a new set of tires and brakes. I mean, if it takes any longer than 3 days to get on that line, something's wrong.
And to Dale Pollock's point on the whole calendaring thing, which we just released a podcast around, is you can't just look at the age of the vehicle. You have to look at each individual car. And oops, did I get the right screen up there? Hold on a sec. There we go. You have to look at each individual car because that has a bigger factor in in the profitability of your car. So we just released that podcast. That's from our last session last month. Look for it on the AutoConverse podcast. Is the calendar method for measuring vehicle age and profitability flawed? And folks, just to wind things down, today's session is brought to you by Vehicle Acquisition Network. You can visit them at buywithvan.com. And while you're trying to keep your pre-owned lot stocked with high quality, in-demand vehicles, as Chip said, dealing with auctions can be costly and time consuming. Might not even be a point in physically being there. Plus, you always run the risk of having your price bid up by competing dealers. So with Van, you go straight to the source and you acquire pre-owned vehicles directly from private sellers that are in your target market. So Van saves you time and money by automatically searching online listings to locate your most sought-after units from independent sellers in your area, allowing you to find the pre-owned vehicles you want faster than your competitors and for hundreds less than you would pay at auction. Well, Chip, appreciate taking the time to be here, and pleasure entering with you. And folks, Chip is a regular around here, so you are sure to see more of him. And if you want to get in touch with Chip, how can people get in touch with you, Chip?
They can always call me, 949-910-0421. I'll answer the phone if at all possible, or they can hit me on email, chip@torqueanalytics.com.
There you go. All right, Chip, thank you so much, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Ryan.
And folks, thanks for tuning in, be it here backstage on the Zoom webinar, or if you were caught the live stream, I apologize for some of the technical challenges, but go to autoconversion.net, look under the menu option Masterminds, and you'll see Auto Retail Masterminds there. And the used car marketing strategy session is listed there. Once you sign up for that, you will automatically be invited to come back and join us for every session we do, which is about every 4 to 6 weeks. Have a great rest of the week, everyone. We're going to go ahead and shut down.
Okay, so how are we doing?
1 sec here.